No face detected. Sigh. Good morning, Grace. It's just early to see you. Hey, Jen. Grace, you haven't been on this early in a while. How's the lab? Book club 2 days in 1 week. Who even am I? Who even are you? I don't know who you are, but I like it. Got the Beetlejuice cup this morning because it's October and that's what we do in October. We have our Beetlejuice cup. That's what we do. Yes, yes, yes. So busy, I love it, but I don't love missing out. That's totally fair, Grace. I understand loving what you're doing, but still wanting to be a part. Hey, Ray. How's everyone doing this morning? Everyone good? Everyone happy? Everyone feeling fine? Hey, Anya. Good morning. I'm doing a lot of sterile work, so I can't... Oh, that's fair. That is totally fair. We miss you, though. When do you think that particular run will be over and you'll be able to listen in so that you can... I think our next book is going to be, this current book is so great, but I think our next book is going to be so phenomenal. I don't know if you were on the live, but we were picking it. It's called The Once and Future Witches, and it's a story about witches that takes place during the suffragette movement, which sounds like it's going to be freaking phenomenal. I'm really excited for it. So I don't know if that's something you're interested in. Right before Thanksgiving should be my last. Okay. Well, then you'll be able to hang out with us for the holidays. That's exciting. That's exciting. Hey, Avery. Anyone doing anything fun today? It's the middle of the week. You know? That's what it is. Morning. Morning, morning. Is everyone excited for more Essie after we made an Essie slime last night? Hey, Grayson. If you're with Mabel, tell her I said hi. If you're not, just hi to you alone. Hey, Sloth. No plans so far, but I guess Dad and Mom want to do something. Oh, well, it's your birthday. Oh my gosh, you guys, it's Anya's birthday. Everybody say happy birthday to Anya. Happy birthday! Blah. That makes sense. It's Wednesday. Why wouldn't she be at work? She works at a school. It's Anya's birthday, you guys. Everybody shout from the rooftops a big, big happy birthday to one of our OG book club members, Miss Anya. It's very exciting. Very exciting. Happy birthday from all of us to you. We wish it was our birthday so we could party too. Hey! That's as good as it's gonna get. Hey, Liz. So how are everyone's projections looking forward into the new week of fantasy? I'm looking like I'm okay, not superb, but okay, you know? What do you guys think? I didn't even look yet. Late board meeting last night. Ew, board meeting. Sorry, people asked me a safety question. I'm back. That's okay. Hey, Becca. We got Grace today. Isn't that exciting? We got Grace in the house. It's Anya's birthday. I don't know. We did Roll for Slime last night, which is very exciting. You know, it's all good things. All good things. You could not miss Anya's birthday. We wouldn't allow it. We would not allow it. She's finally an adult. Today, Anya is finally a full adult. She has graduated into adulthood today on this, the day. I don't blame you for being salty, Liz. I had to do a lot of waiver wire stuff this week because of this situation with my tight end and all that stuff. Sounds funny when you say it like that, right? I know, Anya, I was just teasing. I know you've been a full adult for a long time. I just thought it was funny to say it. I'll be catching up on Dancing with the Stars tonight. Ooh, who are you rooting for, Avery, if you don't mind me asking? I don't know who all's in it, but I do know that Joey from The Bachelor's in it, and of course I would be rooting for him because I love him and his girlfriend Kelsey, big fans of theirs. Because you know I'm a Bachelor person, I can't help it. Oh, not yet. Yeah, rooting for the viewers. You're rooting for the viewers. There you go. I heard he was doing really well. I heard he's like a natural at it. Is that true from what you guys have seen? I've watched Dancing with the Stars a few times, and I actually quite enjoy it. I think it's a fun show, and I think it's just one of those shows that's all feel good and happy. You know, it's nice. What's your favorite slime shop? Me. I'm my favorite slime shop because the rest are too expensive. The rest are too expensive. And is your favorite right now? Who's she? What who is she? I got a text message a couple of days ago from one Miss Arbitrary Canary. I noticed a lot of book club friends were on YouTube last night. Oh yeah, I know, it's hard, right? I wish that we knew all of them, Sophie. So I got a text message from Miss Arbitrary Canary a couple of days ago, which is normal. We text fairly often. And she texted me specifically to tell me that she hadn't bought any slime except mine, because she's on Patreon, of course. She hadn't bought any outside slime since May, but one slime popped up from another popular slime shop, who I will not name, of course, because we don't do that here. And she was intrigued by it. So she shelled out the $23 for 6 ounces of it by the buy. And she said it didn't even last a week and it was not good and sad. And she said, I am reverting back and now I will only be having Rainbow Slime Girl Slime because I cannot afford bad slime for $23 for 6 ounces. Yeah, I was like, wow. And I was like, well, I don't begrudge you ordering from other people, of course. And she was like, I won't do it. I was like, okay, well, that's a decision you have to make for yourself. But I couldn't believe that, because to me, $23 for 6 ounces seems really steep. $23 is like getting a custom slime from me. You know what I mean? And the only reason the custom slimes cost that much is because of all the extra time they take. But batches of slime, never been $23. I don't know. I was like, girl, that is too much. Anyway, it was a funny conversation we had. It was a funny conversation, but Arbitrary Canary and I also. Me too, Grayson. Isn't it fun? Grayson, my goddaughter, who unfortunately you won't meet while you're here because she's going to be away for the holiday, gave me this for my birthday 2 years ago, actually. Because the year before I had dressed up as Beetlejuice for Halloween. Oh my God, Grayson. This is not a joke. When I'm not on live, remind me to send you the pictures of that my friend and so do you guys all know that my friend Marty and I did a graveyard photo shoot as a gender bent Beetlejuice and Lydia? I don't know how many of you guys know this. So during the pandemic, my friend Marty, who is like one of my dearest oldest friends, went through like a really bad breakup, and he was feeling pretty down. And so another friend who's a photographer and I got this idea to like give him a little like ego boost or whatever, and we set up a photo shoot where he would be Lydia and I would be Beetlejuice, and we went to a graveyard and did a whole photo shoot. The photos are phenomenal, you guys, and it worked, and it made him feel a little bit better about himself, just like seeing himself on camera in like a positive way, you know, whatever like that, after everything he had been through. But we have these wonderful memories as a result, and we have these like super creepy, like great Halloween, like, you know, Beetlejuice creeping around a graveyard photo shoot. So it was a lot of fun. Hey, Amanda. I will have to show you guys because they are, I mean, they're some of the greatest photos that I've ever seen, like just of two friends who have known each other since they were kids, just being stupid, but also so fun. We had a great time, and he's in a much better, you know, life place now. So, but we still look back at the photos every year when they come up on the, what do you call it? And we're like, oh man, that was great, right? But if you like Beetlejuice, you'll like these pictures. Hello, hello. All right, let's get into chapter 9. So yesterday's chapter is uploaded, but for anyone who wasn't here yesterday, we basically, Josh, would you be unhappy if I offered your guide to someone for free? No, I mean, if you feel like it's the right thing to do, then I trust you. I was gonna brew myself a coffee, but my mom just texted me saying, Dad, want something? And my mom's texting me at the same time. I've been fighting with my son's school for weeks and I'm tired. Oof, that sounds terrible. So yesterday, yeah, Jen, just as like a catch up, at the end yesterday, Essie and Josh got into, oh yeah, give it to the school, Becca. That seems like the right thing to do. After book club, that's right, that's the right answer. Hey, Library of Slime. So at the end of the chapter, he found out that Essie lives in the house that he hasn't been able to collect rent from, and she won't tell him where it is, so they got in a fight. I don't think we're in the third act, Jen. We're only 40% in. Usually that, I mean, they haven't even, I don't know, it seems a little early for that, if you ask me. But either way, they got in a fight, and then he got annoyed with his sister, and he went home and he got mean to his pregnant sister because she just throws her money around and he doesn't have any money. So he got a little snappy pants. It was not a good look. Yeah, Becca's mad and doesn't like him now. I'm on the fence. Like, I understand where he's coming from, but I think he handled it very badly. So a little nervous about Joshy Pants right now. So that's the catch up for everyone who missed out at the end there. Yeah, I mean, like, on some level I understand, Becca, someone coming in and just like flipping your world upside down is not a great feeling, but there are different ways. Exactly, he handled it in very, very wrong. But I do understand his point. Yes, where is Jack? He is starting to look a little Joshy. Yeah, so let's read and let's see what happens. The last thing that happened in the previous chapter is that Sienna, his pregnant sister, got in her car and left. And he tried to go after her, but he doesn't have a car. So that didn't go well. But let's see what happens in chapter 9, and we will just, I don't know, you guys, hope for the best. Yeah, no, same, Becca. You know, I did present it as yelling. I'm not 100% sure he was yelling, but it did feel like he was yelling. She didn't say the word yell in the descriptors, but, you know, those words always feel very pointed, so. Oh, that's right, and Essie's mom showed up at the end of the chapter as well. She came out of the painting, which I didn't know was a thing that they could do, but we have learned today that they can come out of the painting, and she has this, her mother, who is presumably long past, came out of the painting. Yeah, I get that, Becca. I totally get it. But let's read chapter 9 and we'll see what's going on. We don't know what's going to happen today, but hopefully things resolve themselves. I don't know what her mom's going to do about this situation, but here we're going to find out. Or I assume anyway. I just read her mom's name. Now it's going to make me question a lot of things. Here we go. Lilith Winterscale had always been possessed of a formidable presence. She was the sort of person who never waited for the right moment to make an entrance, because the moment that she made her entrance, it automatically became the right moment. She carried an air about her of always being in the exact right time and place. Kings and empresses had bowed in her presence. Esabet, she said, looking over her only daughter as she stood, dripping wet in her jeans and fleece. Her voice was familiar, dreadful, a mixture of disappointment and disdain as she said, "Goodness, child, what are you wearing?" "It's the 21st century," Essie said. "I can wear whatever I like." She was a grown woman, and yet, even though she had been so much longer than it seemed, yet whenever Lilith was around, Essie felt like she was 12 years old and not mature enough to talk to grown-ups yet. The emerald gaze swept her again. "And you're wearing that?" Essie gritted her teeth. "You look lovely, Mother. Thank you." Lilibeth absently touched the fat, gleaming pearls on a ribbon around her own neck. "Well, yes," she said, and she descended the final few steps and urgently added, "What is the date? Is it cross-quarter day yet?" "No, that's next week, Mother." "It not even Halloween," said Avery, and they had picked up Misty, the black cat, as if for protection from Lilith. "Halloween," scoffed Lilith. "The Christian corruption of everything sacred." I can't even say that with a straight face. That's funny. I like it. I like what we did here. "The Christian corruption of everything sacred. We must gather the evergreens, cut the missal, bring the holly." "But it'll die before we're ready to do anything with it," said Essie. She had a whole day set aside for that. On Sunday, the day before the ritual had to take place, the holly from the church grounds would be collected, the mistletoe from the ancient oak on the midsummer common, the yew from the tree behind the pub, and they all grew strongly every autumn, and nobody ever cut them until Essie had taken her crop. She had never questioned this. It was just something that everybody in the village knew to do. Lilith advanced on Essie, her face pale, her eyes burning. "No, we must be ready now," she said. "He rises, Esabeth. The monster awakes." What monster?" said Essie, bewildered. "Look, it really isn't time to start the ritual yet. Winter doesn't start until next Monday at about 10:30, I think." "Winter?" said Lilith. "Essie, do you really think the ritual is about winter? About snow? About Yules?" Essie stared at her, and then she looked at Avery and at Prudence, who had drifted in from the kitchen. Neither of them met her gaze. "What else would it be about?" she said slowly. Lilith was about the same height as Essie, but she still managed to look down at her as she said, "It is to contain the monster, Esabet. The ice that freezes him beneath the earth, the sleep that must be renewed, the cold that contains. For nearly 400 years we have bound him, but now he wakes. The monster awakes." Good morning, monster. It might be.
Did you close the door thing?
I did. It was just a little chilly when I came out.
What you should do is turn off the tap.
Oh.
Remember how
Well, you were sleeping, so I thought you wanted it on for sleepies.
Sleeping, you know that.
Well, I mean resting, and you know. Anyway, your coffee's ready. Josh had put on a waterproof coat and grabbed a large flashlight, but the night was still dark and howling, and he was soaking wet already. He wasn't entirely sure what he was out on foot looking for, how he was out on foot looking for Sienna, but it was better than sitting at home trying to call her again. The location services on her phone were off, of course. He figured that he'd call at the pub to see if anyone had seen her, and then try some local hotels, and then if he couldn't raise her after that, he would call the police. Visions of her going into labor in a ditch beside a crashed car just tortured him. The rain was relentless, hammering down on him like a tiny 1,000 punishments, so heavy that he could barely hear the thunder above.
He saw the lightning, though, and as he arrived in the village, he realized that the lightning was the only thing giving the place any illumination at all. Every house was dark, and what few streetlights even existed were out, too. There was a faint glow coming from the pub. Candles, he realized. The good people of Goodwinter wouldn't let something like a power outage stop them from drinking. He stumbled across the slick, muddy common and regarded the small river where the road used to be. Well, they did say wild swimming was fashionable these days. Fortune favors the brave, he muttered to himself and began wading through the water. He fell to his knees at one point, which was just fabulous because now all of him was soaked through, and then he crawled to the other side of the road and the slight raised ground of the pub car park. He was staggering upright and he hesitated. He shone his phone light across the cars parked in front of the pub. None of those cars were Sienna's. He might as well just go in and ask about her. The heat and the sound enveloped him as soon as he pushed the door open, and steam rose off his clothes. Come in, someone that he didn't know cried. The more the merrier, you look like a drowned rat. Yeah, said Josh, and he figured there might be an inch or so of one of his hips that wasn't soaked through to the skin, but that was about it. His jeans seemed to weigh about 100 pounds now. Hey, listen, so have you seen... But the man had already turned back to his friends, laughing in the candlelight over their pints. Josh pushed through to the bar, and there was a jack-o'-lantern pumpkin there flickering with a candle inside. Hey, so, have you seen my sister? Not sure I know her, love, said Sharon, the barmaid. Oh, no, you remember her, the blonde, very pretty, about 9 months pregnant. Her plucked eyebrows went up. No, you're right. I would remember her. She raised her voice. Oi, you lot, American Josh is looking for his sister. Blonde, very pretty, 9 months pregnant. Anyone seen her? The chorus of shrugs was his reply. A few people looked as if they'd been about to make a joke about a blonde and very pretty, but abruptly stopped as soon as they said pregnant. Josh considered asking after her car, but he figured there wasn't really much point. Well, if anyone sees her, could you all please call me? He said, and he took Sharon's pen out and scribbled his number on her order pad. The flickering pumpkin leered at him. Is she all right, love? I'm just worried about her in this weather, Josh fudged, and then he left the warmth of the pub. Outside, the weather seemed to be even worse than it was before. Josh hadn't thought that storms like this even happened in England, where rain for more than an hour was treated as an exciting weather event that had to be discussed for days on end, and sunshine was something that had to be mentioned as if by law every single time it occurred. Maybe there was a law about it. Thou shalt form a queue and talk about the weather. Penalty for failure. Learn all the rules of cricket. Oh, God. He was absolutely delirious right now. Josh stood in the dark as the rain battered him sideways, and he tried to take a few deep breaths. She couldn't have really gone very far. Maybe to the nearest spa or a luxury hotel. Perhaps he should go back inside and ask where those things might be. He wished that he had Blessing's number, honestly. It was written on the fridge on a stick-on magnet, but that was no damn help to him now. He could call Essie. Guiltily, he glanced down towards Mrs. Sockburn's empty cottage. Essie had been upset because the old lady had died, and Josh had been an insensitive asshole about it. He deserved her yelling at him, and he should not have taken it out on Sienna. All of this he knew to be very true, but that didn't help very much. He was about to go back inside the pub to ask about hotels and the like when a movement caught his eye from the side of the building. A flash of red, a glint of a torchlight and spectacles. Essie? She didn't hear him, of course. The wind was blowing so hard that it was all he could do to even stay upright. He battled forward toward the side of the pub where there was little respite, and saw Essie and a woman in a long dress standing under the large old tree that was there. Hey, you should get out from under that tree, Josh rushed forward. What if lightning hits you? Oh, we'll be safe, said the woman in the long dress. For lightning dare not hit a witch, and besides, I already be dead. At least, he thought that's what she said, but the wind was howling and the rain was hammering, and Josh grabbed the sleeve of Essie's red coat. You cannot stand under a tree during a thunderstorm, he said urgently. It's a lightning rod, literally. She turned, and her face in the glare of his flashlight was something strange and terrible to behold. Her bones were sharper, her lips were redder, her eyes were glowing like emeralds, and her hands she held a fearsome axe the length of his forearm. And then she moved, and she was Essie, soaking wet, and she scowled at him. She held up a garden implement and some greenery. "What are you doing out in this?" she said, stuffing the branches into a sack that was held by the other woman. "It's dangerous. You could get hit by lightning. You're soaking wet." So are you," said Josh, but she had already appeared to have lost interest. She reached toward the tree with her knife and hacked off some more of the branches. "What the hell, Essie?" "We still need more," she said to the woman with the sack in a strange way of talking. "Get inside, Josh. This doesn't concern you." "Doesn't? That axe is metal, and you're out in the..." "Do not meddle in the affairs of witches," Essie snarled, and there were harmonics in the voice that reached down inside Josh's soul and told him he needed to run away very fast indeed. Her voice was the howl of a wolf, the roar of a lion, and the scream of a crow, and what was worse, multitudes of all of those things contained in her. A pack of wolves, a pride of lions, a murder of crows, quite definitely a murder of crows. But Josh's feet rooted themselves in the crack of the tarmac and the pub car parking lot. And he said, "Well, Sienna's missing." Essie froze with a fair-sized branch in her hand. "Missing?" she said. "We do not have time for this," said the woman with the sack. "Missing how?" said Essie. Josh shrugged helplessly. "We argued. It was dumb. I said stupid stuff. She got in her car and she drove away. And now the weather's..." He gestured at the road running past the pub. Running was the operative word. The damn thing was like Splash Mountain up in here. "Esabet," said the other woman, "we must gather the ewe and return. The monster wakes." "It's not time yet," said Essie uncertainly. She glanced at the dark village and then back at Josh. "Canst thou not feel it? I taste it in the air, and I have not a living tongue," cried the other woman, and Josh realized she was wearing some sort of period costume, a long skirt, an apron, tattered linen cap. Maybe she got the wrong day for the pub's Halloween party, only she didn't even seem to be very wet. "She's overreacting," said Essie. "The storm is just my bad mood." She didn't even look at Josh. The costumed woman scoffed. "Now who's fancy about herself?" she said. "Would you who would be blizzards and I expect a crying man with a gaying instrument of ice turn to a rat? This man here, comely as a fancy man, be plump currant." "Please stop," said Essie. What?" said Josh, and he just decided to ignore the woman. "Essie, listen, can you help me or not?" Essie looked at the mad woman in the costume and then at the tree and then back at Josh. "All right," she said, "you better come with me." The ritual was sacred. The ritual was always done. The ritual never happened early. Essie had participated since before she could remember. The witches, in a circle of yew, holly, and mistletoe, candle flames soaring high, evoking winter. Without it, she had been told, the winter would not arrive on time. The winter would not be cold enough. The earth needed its sleep and the blanket of cold in order to rise again in the spring. The winter was necessary, and Essie was necessary to bring it. Her mother had done it. Her mother had done it before her, and her winter scales had always brought the winter. Always. But Essie had a special talent for it. Essie brought the winter without even breaking a sweat. Essie was the winter scale of all winter scales. Essie could do the winter ritual in her sleep. And now she had to perform the damn thing early, unprepared, during a bloody hurricane with a civilian, by the way. What was she supposed to tell him? Hey, long story short, it turns out there's an evil ancient sleeping beneath the good winter, and we need to perform a ritual to keep him trapped in the ice every winter. This year, for some unknown reason, he's stirring early, and we have to get the ritual done before he bursts forth, and I don't know, burns the world down or something like that. Yep, that ought to do it. That's what she'll tell him. The crocuses, the dying reeds, the world on fire, and Dora's Sockburn's face made of bones. She should have known. She should have known. Where are we going? Josh wanted to know as they hurried across the muddy common. She had his hand in hers since the wind was trying to push them both over, and they leaned on her broomstick as a walking stick. The yew branches stuck out of the heavy sack strapped to her back and poked through her thick coat. They did not make for aerodynamic travel. Could be, Jen. Could be. Prudence, of course, wasn't bothered by such things as weather unless, of course, she chose to be. She wasn't even wet right now. My house. Your house. Am I so honored? Don't, said Essie. She didn't want to help him. She did want to help him find. Wait, sorry. I don't know what just happened. My house. Your house? Am I so honored? Don't, said Essie wearily. She did want to help him find Sienna, and it was probably at least partly her fault that Josh had argued with her. Josh, who was always so easygoing and usually very nice, and she'd managed to upset him to the extent that he'd upset Sienna's equally sunny disposition, and now she was out alone in the worst weather that Essie could ever remember. As they neared the huge creaking oak tree that sheltered the common, she made out the figure of Avery stuffing mistletoe into a sack. Hey, Avery, can you take this back to the house? She yelled for them. Avery looked taken aback at the sight of Josh clinging to her arm. Ah, you picked up a stray, I see, they said. No, we have a problem, said Essie, and she glanced at Josh as she unstrapped herself from the U-sack and handed it over. Releasing Josh's hand felt like letting go of a tether. Leaning in, she explained the situation to Avery as quickly as she could. Oh, have you tried calling Blessing? Said Avery. Essie gave them an incredulous look. Oh, yeah, no, that hadn't even occurred to me. The phones are down, she said. Besides, Blessing's out and hurt for sure, delivering twins. You need to take this back to the house, she said, giving Avery's broomstick a meaningful look. Flying was not a good idea in this weather, but the broom could at least carry the load. Avery had a much faster turn of speed than Essie anyway, and wasn't burdened with a civilian who couldn't see in the dark and kept losing his balance. Are you sure? Why are you all even out in this weather? Said Josh, his whole face screwed up against the rain. I'll explain that later, said Essie, and she leaned into Avery. Can you do a finding spell on Sienna? Can you use a poppet? Avery nodded reluctantly and then turned to go. Prudence floated after them, barely bothering to appear mortal anymore. In seconds, they had disappeared into the darkness. We probably should let them go alone, Josh shouted over the rain. No, they're way faster than us. They're gonna get things ready. Ready for what? Josh yelled. There was still a fair way to go before they reached Gallows Lane and the border of the witch's property. Essie racked her brain for an explanation, but nothing came to her. She'd been up most of the night watching Mrs. Sockburn take her last breaths, which was an emotionally draining thing, even if you weren't particularly close to the patient. She'd fought with Josh, and then her mother had appeared. And now she had to do the ritual in a hurricane, and Sienna was missing, and Blessing wasn't around to help, and there was a monster. She pressed her face to her hands. Essie? She looked up into Josh's concerned face, and he was having a terrible day too. Now he was soaked to the skin, probably freezing cold, and he was managing to somehow still be concerned for her. Look, I need you to trust me. He almost physically withdrew from her. All the muscles in his face tightened. Josh, she took his freezing hands in her own. Please, I promise to help you find Sienna. I promise to do everything I can, and I swear to you I won't rest until she's safe. Thunder boomed all around them, so loud that she thought her eardrums would burst, and lightning lit the sky like a floodlight for several seconds. And Essie felt the vow travel down into the earth and take root. A promise was a promise, but a promise made 3 times was physically binding. She could see the reluctance on his face. What had happened to the sweet-natured man that she found so hard to trust? Finally he said, Okay, guess I don't have any other choice. Lead on. It was hardly the rallying cry that she'd been hoping for, but it was going to have to be good enough. Essie smiled and linked her arms with his and set off toward Beldam House. The fastest route took them through the woods. She felt Josh's body tighten with fear as they walked into the darkness, but under the tightly packed trees, the rain abruptly lessened, and the wind was reduced to an eerie howling. It's not much further, she said, because she could have found Beldam House with her eyes shut. Why is it so much quieter here? Said Josh, and his voice wasn't quite steady. The trees are keeping out the storm. They're pines, see? The branches grow into each other and form a sort of canopy. Can't rule out some fierce drips, though, she added, and a massive splat of water came down upon her head. The wind is, Josh said as it whirled around them and moaned. Essie nodded. Was about right. So, what's with all the greenery? He asked in the tone of a man desperate for distraction. Oh, it's for an important ritual. Ritual. She could feel him scrabbling to remember things that she'd told him in the pub, like when you do the bonfire thing next week, like will it all have dried out by then? No, it's not for a bonfire, said Essie. That's Guy Fawkes night, and that's different. It's a different kind of ritual than that. Josh was silent for a moment, and then he said, what was that you said earlier about, witches? Fuck, she had said that, hadn't she? Essie glanced around and decided that they were close enough to the house for the perception spell to work as much as it ever worked on Josh. Listen, there were, oh no, sorry. Only there were Wiccans when I was at college. I don't think that's the same thing as, no, it's not the same. Her voice came out flat. Hey, listen, to each their own faith. I'm not judging them, said Josh. It's not a faith. Well, it's not quite, look. It has nothing to do with scented candles and silly chanting and herbal rituals, she said. Okay, so what do you do in this ritual? Essie winced. Well, the candles aren't scented, she said. To her surprise, that brought a laugh from Josh. Okay, and the chants? They're very solemn. And the herbs? Holly isn't an herb, and we don't burn it. Holly, I saw you cutting yew, and Avery was collecting, what was that, mistletoe, like at Christmas time? Yes, exactly like at Christmas time. She shot him a look in the darkness. You see too much, Josh Henderson, or should I say Hopkins? The cold wind blew past. She felt a sigh as much as she heard it. I have my reason for taking my mother's name, he said. So do I. Look, the house is just there, through the trees. If anything, Beldam House looked worse than when she'd left. The gargoyles had multiplied. Horrifying faces appeared in every flash of lightning, and some of them appeared to have already begun to collapse. The walls were black and gray, streaked with moss and slime, and the skeletal remains of ivy. Tiles flew from the turrets of the roof, and the battlements crumbled. We have battlements now, she murmured. That one was new. Josh was staring at the house in bemusement as they reached the edge of the woods. I've been here before, he said. Yeah, 4 times this month, Essie said. Twice you came inside. I did? He said, and she tugged him back into the rain to hurry across the cracked and puddled paving to the front door. There was a goat, he said as she dragged him up the stairs. There were rather more of them right now than there usually were. Several flights, it did seem. The house was in a towering mood today. Yes, goats, cats, dogs, parrots. Essie wrenched open the door and was faced with Lilith's tight-lipped fury. My mother, Lilith, this is Josh, Lilith. She heaved him inside and slammed the door shut, and the sudden sensation of wind and rain was like the sinking into a warm bath, and for a second Essie just stood there and enjoyed breathing air that wasn't mostly water. Ma'am? Said Josh, holding out his hand as if it was something perfectly normal. Lilith looked him over as if he was something that Essie had just scraped off of her boot. What, she said in her icy voice, is this? Josh's gaze darted to Essie's and his hand remained outstretched. A friend, she said firmly. I promised to help him. Where is Avery? In the kitchen, snapped Lilith, despite my orders. Orders, said Essie, and at her tone Josh stepped back meekly. We do not give orders. All are equal in the coven. I have crossed time to bring you this warning, said her mother. It is of vital importance. I have a prior promise, said Essie. She felt slightly giddy. A vow thrice stated. Lilith's nostrils flared. Essie half expected smoke to stream out of them. What vow? Her voice cracked. His sister is missing. She's heavily pregnant. The weather is caused by the rise of the beast. The weather that could kill her, said Essie, and she saw Josh flinch. I promised to find her. Avery said they would start a searching spell. It won't take very long. Lilith looked beyond furious. Her jaw worked in a multitude of unpleasant ways, but she knew as well as Essie that a vow thrice stated had to be fulfilled. Why don't you go and you start the ritual, said Essie. You know full well the winter is your responsibility, and I know full well that you did it before I was born. Essie had never known anyone as proud as her mother. She knew it absolutely burned her that Essie had a greater affinity for winter and therefore was much better at bringing it in than Lilith had been. The conflict chasing around her face was like the storm outside. Lilith nodded very tightly and stalked away towards the back of the house. Essie blew out her breath. Come on, Josh. She started toward the kitchen and assumed he would follow her. Avery stood at the table holding a pink crystal in one hand and Sienna's poppet doll in the other. "Oh, good," they said. "I started going, but it'll be better with you lot here. We should probably get a move on, though. Your mother is not happy." "When is she ever? Come on, Josh." He stood in the doorway of the kitchen and gaped. Like the rest of Beldam House, the kitchen was wont to change every now and then, and as it was Avery's place and seat of power, it most closely reflected their moods, and in every iteration it was a cavernous room with a high vaulted ceiling and many side chambers. This evening, as Avery appeared to be a little anxious but nowhere near as overwrought as Essie and her mother, the place was just a touch Victorian Gothic, and the dark beams festooned with blackened pans and candles flickering in the lanterns. "Whoa," said Josh. "Egg, you should see it on good day," said Avery, holding out their hand. "Sienna would freak to see this," said Josh, gazing at the huge dresser stacked high with cracked and stained earthenware. On the massive stove, a large copper vat bubbled. "Well, I'm sure we'll all enjoy that," said Essie, and she took his hand and pulled him toward the table. "Now, listen, you take the doll." "This looks exactly like her," said Josh, turning it over in his hands. "That's the idea. Wait, this is a voodoo doll? Are we in an inaccurate and culturally appropriating Hollywood movie?" said Essie crisply. "No, it's a poppet doll. We use them for good." Josh's eyebrows creased in a way she tried not to find adorable. "The doll represents her. It has a connection to her. We keep it safe, and we treat it as if it was actually Sienna. Only yesterday she had watched Blessing examine the doll's ankles before bathing them with iced cypress. We use it to care for her, you see." "Gently now," said Avery. "Think about Sienna. Close your eyes if you need to. Think about her laugh, the way she smiles. Think about her being happy and content." "Wrapped up in her blanket," said Josh, "on her beanbag." Avery hurried away and came back with a little sack of dried chickpeas and a towel, and they wrapped the poppet up and posed her on the bag. "You got any celery and ketchup?" said Josh. "Any what? Or maybe like a baking show on? Sienna loves baking shows." "Never mind." He regarded the swaddled doll with his head on one side. "It really does kind of look like her." "Okay, focus on the doll, tell her she'll be safe, and we'll take care of her. Hold this crystal." Josh darted her a look and then gave her a hopeless shrug and said, "Hey, Sienna, you'll be safe. We'll take care of you." Essie sighed. "Okay, try to mean it," she said, and Josh looked doubtfully down at the doll and said, "Is this some kind of spell or something?" "Oh my God," muttered Avery. Yes, it is," said Essie as patiently as she could. "It's a spell, but it won't work unless you believe it. Do you even want to find your sister?" "Yeah!" That was firm and sincere. "Okay, then say it. And mean it." Josh took a deep breath and blew it out. "Sienna," he said, and stared down hard at the doll. "Please be safe. Please be found. I care about you. Will you please come back?" And the crystal started to glow. Yes. Keep thinking that," said Essie. "Just repeat it. Repeat it over and over again. Even if you want to do it in your head. Just tell her, 'Come here. She'll be safe.'" Josh closed his eyes and muttered the words over and over again, and Essie met Avery's gaze, and they shared a nod. The crystal was beginning to move in Josh's hand. Apparently, without him even realizing it, he followed it away from the table and back to the hall. "She's close," said Avery in surprise. "Yeah, really close," said Essie as the crystal glowed brightly. The loud, frantic banging of the door knocker made them all jump. "No way," breathed Josh, and his eyes opened. Prudence, appearing from nowhere, opened the door and caught Sienna as she tumbled inside. "You'll be all right now, child. Fret no more," she said, and then her eyes went wide. "No way," said Josh, gaping like a fish. Sienna looked up at Prudence, and then at Josh, and then at Essie and Avery. She was in leggings and a huge sweater, and her hair was bedraggled, and her makeup was smudged from crying. Oops, oh dear. "What are you guys doing? Where exactly?" She looked up and around at the swords and skulls on the walls, and the reliquaries of gold and bone, and the rows of poppets on the mantel, and she whimpered, "Where am I?" With a sudden presence of mind, Essie rushed to take the crystal and the poppet from Josh before he dropped them to throw his arms around his sister. She carefully placed them on the mantel above the fire, and the little doll was still wrapped in her blanket towel. The doll's eyes were smudged with mascara. Oh my God, thank God you're okay. You're okay. You're okay. Josh hugged her tight. I am so sorry. I should not have yelled at you. I didn't mean it. Essie smoothed the doll's hair and gently closed the blanket around its rounded belly, and then she froze and her eyes met Prudence. This is a... Where is this... I was trying to find a... Or... Sienna trailed off. Oh dear, said Avery quietly. Why? Josh was concerned as he held Sienna by the shoulders and looked her over. Are you okay? Did you have an accident? Not exactly, said Sienna, and she gasped, clutching at her belly. No! I do believe the baby is coming, said Prudence placidly. Dun, dun, dun. The baby's coming. Baby watch 2024 for Sienna, 2025 for me. But yeah, oosh. Baby's coming. Well, if she's bad timing, but if she's 9 months pregnant, it's not, whatever. They come when they want to come when you're 9 months pregnant, right? A lot is happening right now, it's true. That's fair, Becca. Well, I have to go get stuff done because I have to take stuff to the post office. I'm meeting a friend for lunch, but I will be back. I did not, Liz. Was it delivered? Because I can go down when I get back from going out. I know it's a cliffhanger. It's terrible, Grayson. When I get back from lunch with my friend, we will be making slime. We need to make portal potion and 1 or 2 others today. It is cruel. I totally understand that, but I will see you all this afternoon. Just so everyone knows, if you missed out on the cauldron buddies, Liv did make 10 more, 5 of each size. So those will go up soon if anyone missed out on getting a cauldron. I don't have a count on Oogie Boogie yet, Roxy. Oogie Boogie was made, but I have to fill all the pre-orders first, and then whatever's left over after the pre-orders are filled, that's what goes up. Not yet, Jen, but they are this week. Because Portal Potion is the one that goes in that. So we're gonna make that tonight, pack those tomorrow, and make sure that they get mailed by Friday so that you guys can use them as decorations right away. So everyone should have those by like Tuesday. So that's fun. And even if someone's order gets shipped in 2 pieces, the Portal Potions will all go out so that everyone can have those. I'm gonna put them in their little boxes, you know, very cutesy, very fun. There's already a video of it, Roxy. Oogie Boogie's video has been up for, gosh, I think since before I left for my trip. Yes, kitchen sink slimes also are going out. Lots of stuff is going out. I printed labels yesterday to start getting that done because so many slimes are made. The sampler packs are almost completely fulfilled, and good stuff. So start looking out for your orders to be shipped, like, I don't know, starting Friday. I think they'll go out, probably. Maybe even some tomorrow, I don't know, but definitely by Friday. If we didn't get a comment, we don't get a kitchen sink. No, not yet, Liz. Everyone who commented, there's enough for everybody, but I haven't commented back on most of them because I'm not ready to ship them yet. What did I miss? Dang, running to watch. Yeah, Roxy, I've been posting stuff since before I left because we knew that there would be a 2-week pre-order period, so I wanted to give everyone that info in advance. So everyone who commented on Arbitrary's kitchen sink will get one. There's more than the amount of people who commented, so that's good. But I just want to make sure it goes in your... Liz, yours will go with your slime of the month and your roll for slime. Just so that I can split the packages up. It makes it a little easier. So yours will go with that. And other people's will go with other things. Yada, yada, yada. And I love you all. I'll see you all later. And I hope you have a great rest of your day until we make more slime. Oh yeah, see, there you go. That might work, Jen. All right, we can talk. You guys can talk about that in the Patreon chat. See you guys later.